gold shipment's here.
Thanks, Bert. Where's Mr. Hiller?
Over there. Mr. Hiller! Stage!
I saw it, Bert. I'll take that up with the school board the first thing, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Excuse us.
Yes. Get that wagon out!
How is he?
What happened?
That school teacher fella, he got run over.
Teacher? Always grieves me to lose one of our calling. I have the honor to be a teacher myself.
Well, this isn't exactly the time to talk about it. Maybe Providence has sent us a replacement.
If you're thinking of me, no, sir. I'm on my way to accepting a teaching appointment in Galen. Of course, you can write the agency that sent me.
Agency?
The Acme Educational Agency in St. Louis.
Stagecoach leaving?
Excuse me, the stage is leaving.
He should have retired years ago.
Since the death of Mr. Druitt, the kids of Cimarron City had been out of school and running wild. The kids certainly didn't mind it, but it was getting pretty hard on some of the residents. By the end of the 5th week, the entire town was sick of the situation. So the arrival of the stage was a matter of general jubilation. The school board was already assembled to welcome the new teacher to Cimarron City. Howdy, ma'am.
Howdy.
Oh, let me take your bag.
Where you figuring on taking it?
To your room, Mrs. Winfield.
You're not taking me to no room. I'm going to California to see my husband. Anyway, my name's Tucker.
I'm Mrs. Winfield. Are you Mr. Hiller?
No, ma'am. This is Mr. Hiller.
You're the teacher the agency sent?
That's right, Mr. Hiller. I have the school board's paper right here.
Your husband come with you, Mrs. Winfield?
I'm a widow.
I see.
Why, I don't understand. I sent all my references. I thought everything was understood.
Well, you see, Mrs. Winfield, the board expected someone a little more mature.
Yes, ma'am. These kids are quite a handful.
Well, most children are.
There's no use discussing it. You're just not what we had in mind.
But that's not fair. You can't refuse to try me simply because I'm not as old as you imagined.
You won't do.
Now, before we do something we'll be sorry for, let's talk this over. Mrs. Winfield's had a long, rough trip. I'm Beth Purcell. Is that your luggage?
Oh, I have a trunk on top of the coach also.
Tiny, would you fetch Mrs. Winfield's trunk, please?
Yes, Miss Beth. Should have, Mr. Hiller? Yeah. The trunk, Tiny. Get the trunk, Jesse.
I'll show you to your room.
Now, Beth, don't you be getting high-handed. We already said she wouldn't do.
She'll do until she gets some rest. We'll talk about this among ourselves later. We're not some wild mob that discusses our business in the streets.
Let me carry your bag, ma'am.
Oh, I've got it.
All right. Tiny, would you get Silas Perry and Army Archard, and the rest of you go inside. We'll talk about this in the sitting room.
Beth, I have just as much to say about a school teacher for this town as you have.
Yes, Alice, and you'll have your chance to say it. I'll be right back.
Well, let's go.
You have your own entrance. You can come and go as you please. I think you'll find the room comfortable. The bath's at the end of the corridor.
I can't thank you enough for what you're trying to do for me, Miss Purcell. It is Miss Purcell, isn't it?
It's Beth, and I haven't done anything yet. I still have the others to convince.
And if you can't convince them?
Then you'll have to go back to St. Louis tomorrow. But tomorrow gives us plenty of time.
Now, what Beth says is true. After all, we brought her all the way from St. Louis. At least we owe her a chance.
I agree.
You men, have you considered the effect on the children? I've got my sons to think about.
I don't think she'll do much harm to your Henry, Mrs. Purdy.
Saw him out tormenting a little Hicks boy just now. I'm doing a story in the Sentinel on big boys who are always bullying the smaller ones.
You better not mention my Henry in the paper, Army Archard. All boys have a bit of mischief in them.
I think your Henry's got more in his share.
We're not discussing Henry's mischief. We're deciding about Mrs. Winfield.
Look at her like a dance hall girl. Is that what you want teaching our children?
She can't help being pretty. There's no law against it. Is there?
Well, if there is, we'd better repeal it.
I don't consider this a joke.
Now, another thing, if we send her back, we're going to have to go through all this business about getting a replacement again.
The children are like savages already. What will they be like after another month has passed?
I know if I was a child, I wouldn't have any respect for a woman that looked like that.
I suggest that we put it to a vote. Good idea. All in favor? All opposed? All right, we'll give her a try. If she doesn't work out, she can at least keep the children off the streets until another teacher gets here.
Regardless of what you men have been talked into, I'm certainly going to keep my eye on her.
So am I.
I'll pass the word that school starts tomorrow.
I better get something in the paper. Army, I kind of figured you'd want to stick around and do a personal interview with a new teacher. Later, Silas, when it's not so crowded.
Well, good day, Alice.
So long, Beth.
Beth, you're wonderful. The way you handle things. I could kiss you.
Let me give you a pointer, young man. Now, if you want to kiss a girl, never ask her. Or warn her that you're going to. She might say no.
Oh. Tom, you'll never know how much I appreciate the benefit of your many years of experience.
5 weeks ago, our poor Mr. Drew was taken from us, and I know you'll all mourn the loss of our beloved teacher. Henry and I have prayed nightly for a successor worthy of Mr. Druitt, and now another teacher's been sent to us. A woman. A young woman. Oh, but you mustn't think about how young she is, or about her looks. You must think of her only as your teacher, and you must treat her with respect.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Purdy, for those very kind words. And now, boys and girls, we're going to cut the ceremony short and introduce you to your new teacher. This is Mrs. Winfield.
Good morning, children.
This is your teacher.
Good morning, Mrs. Winfield. Good morning. You may be seated now. Now, children, it's going to take us a while to get to know one another. So I think for the first day, it might be a good idea if we read a story instead of doing our regular studies. Is there any story you'd like to read? Does anyone have any suggestions? Wasn't there some story you were reading with Mr. Druitt? And what's your name?
Belinda.
Do you remember the story, Belinda?
Yes, ma'am. It's about Robin Hood and where he meets Little John. It's on this bridge. Well, not really a bridge. It's a kind of log across a stream, just big enough for one person to pass on. And Little John had a quarterstaff. That's a big, long stick. Robin Hood goes back to get a quarterstaff, too, and they're going to have a fight. And that's as far as we got. It's in that book.
We thank you, Belinda.
I think it's better we leave you alone now. Let's get used to your class.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Thank all of you.
They're not as bad as they seem.
Good luck.
You're doing beautifully.
Ouch! What's your name?
Henry Purdy.
Oh, so you're Henry. Would you come up here, please, Henry? Since you were the first one to raise your hand, I presume you'd like to be the first one to read. The rest of you may follow the story in your own books. Go on, Henry. You can read, can't you?
Sure I can read. So Robin clapped Little John heartily with his staff and did shake him soundly. Friend, quoth Little John, thou hast a mighty cuddle.
Does anyone know the word that Henry missed? Belinda?
Cudgel, ma'am. It's a kind of club.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. You may take your seat. Would you like to continue the story, Belinda?
That's for about a half an hour.
I told you didn't have to worry about her. I was feeling that Laura Winfield could take care of herself.
Wait a minute.
Well, what do you men think this is? A peep show?
Boy, she's sure pretty. I ain't never had me no teacher as pretty as that.
You never had no teacher at all. We just watching. Can't throw a man in jail for watching, can you, Mr. Temple? Or can you?
Now go on about your business. Just let her alone. Maybe this town can get back to normal.
Oh, all right, Mr. Temple. Come on, Jesse.
You know, if that bunch of kids did get out of hand, it might be pretty tough for her to ever do anything with them again. Well, it wouldn't hurt to watch for a minute, just to be sure.
Well, I don't have anything too important to do right away.
Then whilst he had his staff appraised to smite Robin, Robin fetched him such a blow in the short ribs, there was no breath left in his body. Then Robin, deeming the fight accomplished, leaned upon his own staff and too late saw the design of Little John. He smote Robin in the head so that he saw stars and forthwith dropped into the stream.
Oh, Belinda, what a shame you tripped over the window pole.
No, I didn't trip. Henry
Henry
Purdy.
left it lying there. It's very careless of you. But Henry's learning. You go sit down, Belinda. Now, Henry, do you remember the word that you couldn't pronounce?
Cudgel.
Very good. Now, do you remember what Robin did to Little John with the cudgel?
I forget.
Oh, Henry, you must pay attention. How do you expect to ever be able to wield a quarterstaff?
Who wants to know how?
It might come in handy. Now, you see, you hold it like this with your right hand. And then you place your left hand about a quarter of the way from the bottom so that you have the long end for striking. Stand up, Henry. And now, in the story, Robin comes under Little John's guard and fetches him a blow in the short ribs. And then Robin, being too sure of himself, Little John comes up and hits him over the head so that he cries out and falls into the water. Now, you see, Henry, if you don't pay attention, you miss a great many things. Now, children, did everyone understand the lesson?
Yes, ma'am.
That's fine. We'll go on to something else.
You know, Beth, from now on, I think we ought to let you pick all the town officials.
Well,
Evening, Beth.
it's the first time you haven't been late for supper in months. I've got lamb stew.
Good, I'm hungry. Say, you look mighty pretty tonight.
Thanks. I never know whether it's me or my food you're interested in.
Well, maybe I can prove which it is. As soon as Tom can teach me some more of his technique.
Evening, Mr. Temple.
Good evening.
Miss Purcell.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Temple.
You did a fine job with him today, Mrs. Winfield.
Thank you.
A lot of people have talked about knocking some sense into Henry Purdy, but you really did it.
Laura, you sit there, and Lane, you sit next to Laura.
All right, Beth.
Thank you. Mr. Knowles, would you say grace, please?
Why, sure, Beth. Almighty Father, bless thou, we pray, this...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were already at supper.
Oh, don't be sorry. Won't you join us?
Well, I don't want to put you to any trouble, Beth.
Oh,
but-
no trouble at all. Won't you sit right here? Would you move down, please?
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
I'll get another plate.
Oh, Mr. Knowles.
Evening, Mr. Hiller.
How are you, sir?
Oh, fine.
Busting in like this, I don't want to interfere with your meal, Mr. Knowles, so why don't you take the seat over there at the head of the table, and I'll just slip right in here kind of easy like, huh?
But it's all...
That's very kind of you, Mr.
Oh.
Knowles. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Glad to see we're all comfortable.
I was just starting to say grace when you came in, Mr. Hiller.
Almighty Father, bless thou, we pray, this food we are about to receive, and make us truly grateful.
Well, to tell you the truth, I stood there facing those children this morning, and I was terrified.
Well, you certainly didn't show it.
I kept saying to myself, you've come all the way from St. Louis, and you just can't fail now.
Yeah, you sure made fools out of everybody who had any doubts about you.
The one who really had faith in me was Beth.
Evening. Out again about Mrs. Houligard's baby. Another false alarm. You know her husband panics every time she has a twinge? Why, with all the trouble she's given me, I could have delivered a whole tribe. Mrs. Winfield, I know you're probably tired of hearing them by now, but I'd like to add my congratulations.
Well, that's something a woman never tires of hearing, Doctor. I only hope I can begin to fill Mr. Druitt's shoes.
Well, I must say, ma'am, it's a completely different foot.
Miss Winfield, here's a new issue of the Sentinel.
There's a little piece here in the paper about you. Thought you might like to send it to your folks.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. But you people here in Cimarron City are the only family I have.
It's not only children she knows how to handle.
She had learned that in school.
Why, Beth, do I detect jealousy?
Of course not.
Well, seems to me you used to be the center of attention around here. I don't know what to prescribe for a condition such as this.
I'll do my own prescribing, Doctor.
Well, it's been a long first day. If you'll excuse me, I think I'll say good night now.
Good night, ma'am.
After today, you deserve a good rest. I say that most gratefully.
Thank you. All of you. Good night, Beth.
Good night. It's getting late. I think I'll go in, too. Good night.
Light for supper, Bess.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
That doesn't seem like herself. Suppose she's all right?
I think it's just a little touch of indigestion. Good night, Lane. Good night, Doctor. Yes? I'll walk along with you.
I'll go along. Good night.
See you, Tom.
Skeeter, what's the matter with you coming here? Do you want to ruin everything?
I told Erskine I don't like to work with women. Now simmer down and tell me what you found out.
The gold shipment comes in on a different day each month, so it won't be intercepted. Even the sheriff doesn't know in advance. When he knows, I'll know, and I'll telegraph Erskine. And you tell him to keep you away from me, or I won't go through with it.
You'll go through with it.
You were the one who argued for her.
Maybe I made a mistake. Why did she nod at that man across the street in such a secretive way? What is she hiding?
Oh, I admit it's strange for a school teacher to have someone come to her room like that. But it might have been a friend.
Right after she gets to town? I don't question what people do, Lane. You know it isn't that.
Then what is it, Beth? You said they had an argument and he left right away. What's there to be so upset about?
Well, she said, if you don't keep away from me, I won't go through with it. And he said she would. It sounded like a threat.
Even so, Beth, her personal life is her own business.
Personal, when she's teaching the children in this town? Well, she certainly doesn't waste time, does she?
Either does Tom. But Beth, you're not... No, you wouldn't do anything like that.
What do you mean? Do you think I said what I said because I'm jealous? Yes, you do.
Well, I didn't say so.
Well, you don't have to say so. You're just as blind as he is. Go ahead. Don't face facts. But believe me, I'm not going to forget it.
Mrs. Winfield.
Howdy, ma'am.
Hello, Mr. Temple.
I wish you'd call me Lane.
Lane. It's a pretty day.
Yeah. I don't know quite how to say this, ma'am, but are you in some kind of trouble?
Trouble?
This is a small town. You can't sneeze, but a half a dozen people are giving you cold remedies.
Well, what makes you think there's any sort of trouble?
Last night, someone overheard you in an argument. Heard you say, I won't go through with it. Heard a man say, you will go through with it.
Well, it's come out. I was a fool to think I could hide it.
Hide what, ma'am?
I lied to you. I lied to the whole town. I said I was a widow. Well, I'm not. I'm divorced. I was afraid if it were known, I wouldn't be accepted.
And the man last night was your husband?
His brother. My husband's not a bad man. He's weak. Maybe without his brother's influence, he would have led a sober and honest life. It's too late. I stood all I could. Last night, his brother found me. He refused to recognize the divorce and demanded that I fulfill my marriage vows. I said I won't go through with it. I should have been honest, but I wanted this position so much.
If he gives you any more trouble, you just let me know.
Thank you. There won't be any more trouble. Anyway, I'm leaving.
It's nobody's business you're divorced. What matters is you're doing a great job here.
That's wonderfully generous of you. What about the person who overheard?
Oh, I don't think that person will have anything more to say. Now, we'll just forget this conversation ever took place. Good day, ma'am.
Jesse, Tiny.
Miss Beth.
Howdy, Mr. Purcell.
Is Winfield in?
Yes, she is.
We'd like to see her. It's something pretty important.
Oh, well, you can wait for her in the parlor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Laura. There's some gentlemen to see you in the parlor. Hi.
Howdy, ma'am.
Good evening.
We got something we want to ask you.
What he's trying to say is that they're having a church social this coming Sunday week.
You like church socials?
They say this is going to be one of the best they've ever had.
That's what they say.
If you miss this, it's just like missing Christmas.
You are going to go, ain't you, ma'am?
Well, I didn't really...
Well, everybody's going to be there.
Yeah, everybody. I sure think you ought to go, ma'am.
It just wouldn't be right if the teacher didn't go to the church social.
Well, then I guess I have to go.
Well, who you figuring on going with, ma'am?
You can go by yourself.
Well, who do you think I should go with?
We'd be mighty proud to take you, ma'am.
Both of you?
No. I've been thinking about getting myself a new shirt.
I might even get me a haircut.
And Silas Perry owes me a favor, too, for the time Tiny and I helped him pitch that hay. I can get his buggy. And according to the almanac, they're going to have a full moon on that night.
Hey, I helped pitch that hay, too.
Now, you know there's not room enough in that buggy for both of you.
Now, look here, little feller. You ain't taking her in no buggy I pitched hay for.
Fact of the matter is, ma'am, we've been fighting about this all week. I guess you're just going to have to choose between us.
Well, I don't think the teacher should go with any special date to the church social. Anyway, how could I possibly choose between you? I'll tell you what. We'll all go together. And I'll see you there. But right now, if you'll excuse me, I have some papers to correct, and I really ought to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night.
Good night, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Temple.
Hi, Tiny. Jesse. Oops. Hi, Beth. Now, look, it's silly to go on like this. You haven't spoken to me in 2 weeks. It's not like you to hold a grudge.
It's not a grudge. I'm worried. You've seen a lot of her lately.
Just what are you worried about?
I honestly don't know, Lane, but If you'd have been with me, heard their voices that night.
Then it's just your woman's intuition?
Well, maybe.
Now, look, Beth, I didn't ignore what you told me. I asked her about it, without mentioning you. There was something wrong. She explained it to me, and believe me, her explanation made sense.
All right, Lane. Maybe I am getting suspicious. That's one of the risks you run when you're a landlady. I probably shouldn't have sent that letter.
What letter?
To the Acme agency. To find out if there was anything in her background that had not been mentioned in the official credentials.
I wish you'd have told me. Well, I don't think there's any harm done. I'm sure there's nothing bad they could say about Laura. Bye, Miss Winfield. Afternoon, Mr. Temple. Afternoon. Good afternoon, Laura. Can I come in?
Please do.
Just ran into Henry Purdy outside. Hardly recognized him. And even last night, Mrs. Purdy said at meeting that she didn't think there would be any great hurry in getting another teacher.
Well, for Mrs. Purdy, praise.
You like it here? I mean, here in Cimarron City?
For the first time in a very long while, I feel at home.
I don't usually pry into matters that aren't my business, Laura. But did Mr. Winfield teach school?
Yes, at first.
Were you married long?
Not very. But that's in the past. I try to think about the future now.
I'd like to think about the future, too. I mean, I'm awful glad you like it here in Cimarron.
You're a very nice person, Lane.
I guess most people don't expect it from a sheriff.
It's a rare quality in any man.
Oh, I don't know. I think people are pretty good if you just let them alone.
Do you? And if a person's bad, do you think he can go back to being good? Can it be the same?
You mean, can people reform? Henry did.
Well, I am happy here. And things do seem to be working out for me. I'll get my shawl.
Well, let me get it for you.
Thank you.
Laura, will you have supper with me tonight? It's a celebration.
It is?
In the second week you've been in Cimarron City. I got the cook at the Oklahoma to fix something special in the family room.
You mean there's some sort of banquet?
Just me.
I'd be delighted to have dinner with you, Lane.
Maybe we could talk about the future.
I think I'd like that.
Mr. Temple, I'm sorry. I'm real sorry, Miss Winfield. Gotta see Lane a minute.
Excuse me, Laura. Don't tell me the gold's coming in tonight.
Just came over the wire.
Of all the nights in the world, it has to be tonight. If they'd only bring in that railroad spur the extra few miles, we wouldn't have to go through this nonsense. I'm sorry about tonight, Laura, but something happened. Business. I won't be able to do what I planned.
That's quite all right. Maybe another time, Lane.
I hope so, Laura. Excuse me. I gotta find Tom.
Oh, Bert?
I'm real sorry about busting in, Miss Winfield. I didn't know you was... I had to find Mr. Temple.
It's too bad about the gold shipment coming in tonight, isn't it?
Yeah. Lane was real... better be getting back to the depot.
Oh, Bert?
Yeah?
How are you coming along with the book I lent you?
Good. You know, it's a real exciting story. Only there's a few words that just don't make sense to me.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you make a list of the words you don't understand, write them down, and I'll explain them to you.
Say, I got a few of them written down.
Why don't you wait and make out the whole list, and then we'll go through it. It's not too late to send a telegram, is it?
No, line's still open. Anyway, it's never too late for you, Miss Winfield.
There. Can you send that?
Sure. You sure you want to send a telegram to Elk River? It's only 10 miles.
Well, I'd like it to get there right away. It's for my cousin. It's her birthday.
It'll cost 40 cents to send it just 10 miles.
There.
Well, anything you say, ma'am.
You're positive it'll go right out?
Oh, sure. Wires are open for 2 hours yet.
Fine. I'll walk down to the depot with you.
Fine.
How many?
Oh, I'll worry along with these.
About 5.
Call you and raise you 5. Pair of 2s.
Pair of 2s? That's sitting there with a pair of 10s and 4s. Little fella, one of these days I'm gonna take and wring your neck.
Sure, your arms are big enough. It's your brain that ain't. You gotta have brains to play this game.
Tom, I've been looking all over for you. Your shipment's in.
I know. I was looking for you.
What happened to all that big talk about bringing the railroad into Cimarron City?
Still talk.
All they have to do is bring that spur the extra few miles, and the mine can ship direct to the train under their own guards.
Well, my father's still working on it in the East Lane. You know how hard it is to convince a railroad company.
Sure. In the meantime, I got to sit up all night with that gold every time you ship it in. Then haul it 10 miles over to the railroad spur.
What's got you so all fired up?
I was going to have supper with Laura tonight. Something special. I booked the family room at the Oklahoma. Now I got to tell the cook to forget it.
Don't bother him. I'll take Laura to supper.
It was my supper. I planned it.
Now, you wouldn't want to see Laura disappointed, would you?
Don't you worry about Laura. Just stay away from her.
I was only suggesting it out of friendship, Lane.
That kind of friendship I don't need.
You know, I thought it was Beth. You're always hanging around her like a puppy.
Like a puppy? Hey, you're serious, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I don't want you to get the idea that you're going to treat Laura the way you do Beth.
You know, you ought to learn to get a woman before you start telling me how to treat them, Buster.
Hey, looks like they're real mad at each other. Reckon what's wrong?
When men get that mad, it's either women or money. Mr. Hiller's got all the money he can use, and Mr. Temple ain't got enough to worry about.
You know, Tom, we've been the best of friends ever since you came into town.
Yeah.
I think we still are. But when it comes to women, we've been building up to a fight for a long time. I'm only sorry it can't be today. But I got your gold to look after.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Lane. Anyway, when we do decide to fight, why, I think we ought to find someone worth arguing over. From what Beth tells me about Laura entertaining strange men in her room, I...
You asked for it, and you're gonna get it. Hey, they're sure enough, man. Don't you think we ought to do something?
Nah, couldn't be fair to help just one of them.
Fighting like a couple of barroom drunks.
Neither one of us are drunk, Beth. Just about the fact...
I know what it's about. Fighting over her like tomcats. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. I want to show you just exactly what you've been fighting over.
Now, this is between Tom and me.
That's right.
This concerns the whole town. I told you I wrote to St. Louis. Well, Laura was never sent here by the Acme Educational Agency.
You sure of that?
They say they didn't send it?
No, they didn't say, because there is no Acme Educational Agency in St. Louis.
You got here quickly.
Now that I got your telegram.
All set?
All set. There couldn't be any mistake. It is tonight.
Bird at the telegraph office admitted it. Lane was taking me to supper. Broke the date.
And I'm glad it's tonight. Skeeter tells me you've been seeing a lot of that deputy sheriff. I'm the jealous type.
Well, it's terribly romantic. He walks me home from school.
Bet you'll be glad to get away from this.
Kind of getting a kick out of it. Getting some use out of all that time I spent in normal school. Those were good times. You know, I think I might have made a pretty good teacher if I hadn't met you.
But you did meet me. And after tonight, we're through living in these filthy little towns. Mexico first, then Europe. We can even get married. That's what you've always wanted, isn't it?
Laura?
Just a moment. Closet. Come in, Lane. No such company at this address. Well, I don't understand. There must be some mistake.
It's the official post office stamp.
Even the post office can make a mistake.
Maybe we're the ones that made a mistake taking the word of a total stranger.
What do you mean?
That man passing through on the stagecoach who suggested we write to the Acme agency for a new teacher.
Oh, but they sent you a teacher. That ought to prove that the agency exists.
Anyone could have rented an address long enough to make arrangements for us to accept you.
Oh, Beth, that's ridiculous. But even if it were true, what reason could I have?
Why? Maybe you'd like to tell us why.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I want this thing straightened out more than you do. I want you to send a telegram to St. Louis, to the mayor or the post office or whoever can settle this problem.
You know very well the wires will be shut down before we can get an answer back.
You can get an answer first thing in the morning, before school opens. I've kept quiet all these weeks because you were my friend once, when I needed a friend. That's why I've let you say all the things that you have. Now I think I know why you've been saying them. Believe me, I've never given you any reason to be jealous.
Jealous? That's the second time I've been accused of that, and I'm getting sick and tired of it.
Beth, we do have to clear this up for Laura's sake.
I agree.
And now she's got both of you wound around her little finger.
Tom, I'll be with you in a minute. Go send that telegram for her and tell Jesse and Tiny to meet me at my office. There's something I want to say to Laura.
All right, Lane.
I'm sorry about all this, Laura. Real sorry it happened now. There was something I was going to ask you tonight. Do you know what it was?
I think so, Lane. I hope so. But after this, I realize you can't ask the question now. Not until you're sure. Really sure. Could we have that supper tomorrow? A girl likes a formal proposal.
All right. I'll do it for him.
It's enough of that, or we'll both forget our duty. It's Sheriff.
I'll see you tomorrow. I'll take the letter.
Well, that was interesting. So Skeeter was right.
Oh, of course he wasn't, honey. What'd you expect me to do? Get him mad at me now?
You were enjoying it.
Don't be silly.
You said you get a kick out of teaching. Maybe you got a kick out of that cheap cowboy sheriff. Well, I'll remove temptation from your path. Let's get on with the job.
You're going in there with me? You'll be recognized.
Been 7 weeks. Don't worry about me. And I've got a gun. You even look like you're going to double-cross me, and I'll use it. Come on.
Did you get the telegram off?
Yes, ma'am. Now, don't go worrying your head about it. Excuse us, Tom.
Well, Miss Winfield. Howdy again, ma'am.
Hello, Bert. Say, I'd like us to go out in the train tomorrow morning, please.
That's heavy. Oh, my, yes. That'll cost you 85 cents, ma'am. I'll see it's taken care of.
Oh, Bert, say, I was wondering, I know it's probably silly, but, could that possibly go in the safe for tonight? It's jewelry.
Be perfectly safe right here in the office, ma'am. Sheriff will be sitting here with a gun across his lap the whole night.
Well, I know it's silly to worry, and it's really not worth a whole lot, but, it was my mother's, and I'm sending it to my younger sister who's getting married next month.
Why, sure, ma'am. If it'll make you feel better. Gotta open the safe anyway.
Laura? Since Lane's going to be busy tonight, how about letting me take you to supper?
Oh, I couldn't, Tom, not tonight. It wouldn't be fair to Lane. You know, he did ask me first.
All right, boys. I'll take over from here.
Excuse me.
Changed my mind. Well, that went off all right. Now we've just got to wait.
But it's not till 10 o'clock. Is it safe to stay here?
Leaving would be putting temptation in your path. I'll stay.
What's the matter with you? I've never crossed you.
And you're not going to this time. "6:25. We've got 3.5 hours. Then everything has to happen exactly on schedule. At 2 minutes to 10, Skeeter will start a diversion in the west end of town. That should draw off everybody except that deputy sheriff. You'll be with him.
In the stage depot?
There's no danger if you stay away from the safe. As soon as the explosion comes, get the street door open. See that his back is to it. Throw yourself into his arms. Do anything you have to. But make sure his back is turned toward that open door.
Then what?
Then I'll take care of him.
I don't want him killed.
I know you don't.
Mr. Druitt was Skeeter's responsibility. But I don't want any part of a killing. You've got to promise me that or I won't go through with it.
I'll just knock him out until we get away. I'll be right outside that depot with a bullet for you if you try to cross me.
I won't cross you.
I know you won't.
Sound like it came right out here.
Look out in the alley.
Help! Help! Hold it!
Sounds like it's coming from down there.
Hey! What do you think you're doing? I thought I seen something moving over there. You big ox, find out what you're shooting at. You almost got me. Now, there's an idea I really like. Come on, let's go.
Who's there?
You all right?
Sure. You shouldn't be on the street with all this shooting. Come away from the door.
Sure wouldn't want you in the range of any stray bullets.
Well, then let's go somewhere else.
This is solid steel. It's more protected here.
Lane, I'm frightened. I don't want to stay here.
Don't you trust me? This is the safest place in town.
Let me go.
I can't. I'm in love with you, remember? So much so I shut my eyes to things I should have seen. Beth knew better, and all she had to go on was intuition.
You mean?
You know what I mean. You asked Beth what reason you'd have to pretend to be something you weren't. It was a good question. It started me thinking, remembering all those coincidences.
What coincidences?
The teacher on the stagecoach the night Mr. Druitt was killed. Why was he murdered?
You felt like that? You made love to me when you felt that way?
Can't say I liked it. I guess I'm kind of stuck with this badge I'm wearing.
You can't prove anything any more than Beth could.
You were in here the day the shipment came in. Bert put something in the safe. A package you gave him.
All right, you hick sheriff. You think you're pretty smart. Well, you're just smart enough to get us both killed, because that package in there is a bomb, and it's set to go off right now.
Well, let me show you something. You mean that? Drop that gun.
I loved you.
Get Laura. What about her, Doc?
He's dead. You better check inside. You two men take him up to Pearson's.
Blaine?
Man, oh man. I sure hope Mr. Temple's not mad at us because we didn't stay where he put us.
Yeah, we heard all the shooting. We figured that's where the trouble was.
Where were you supposed to be?
Mr. Temple had us covering both ends of the street. That's how come he wanted to see us.
He said there's too many coincidences. I don't know what he meant.
Lane, I owe you an apology.
I guess I owe you one. Just don't ever turn off that intuition.
You really cared for her, didn't you?
I really did.
You know what I think, Lane? I think that badge you're wearing is a lot heavier than it looks. It takes quite a man to carry it.
How about you making me a pot of coffee? of things in Cimarron City, but nothing more than our church choir. People have been here from Boston, and they say they've never heard a finer choir. 6 men and 1 young lady. You know, there are cowboys that would ride 40 miles just to hear her voice. She was good enough to sing in the Paris Opera Company itself, according to our choir master. He studied in Paris. He's the one we had to thank for all the fine music we heard on Sundays. I guess you could say he was a genius.
Nothing else can do. I love to tell the story. 'Twill be my theme in glory to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. Amen.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Now, may the grace of God go with us and lead us in the coming week in the paths of righteousness. Amen.
Good morning.
Reverend Bigsby, excuse me. I'm terribly sorry, Mrs. Tompkins. Ezekiel Mulligan is standing just outside the door, and I know he's after Tom.
Perhaps I should have a word with him.
Yes, if you would, please. I'll tell Tom to go out the back.
Oh, good morning, Ezekiel. I don't believe I saw you in church.
Well, you see, Reverend, it was such a nice spring day, and, well, the way I figure it, church and spring, they don't go so good together.
Church goes well with any season, Ezekiel.
No, it don't. Church goes good with winter, strictly winter.
What goes with spring, Ezekiel?
Girls go good with spring, Reverend.
Any particular girl?
You aiming to criticize me?
I'm aiming to point out to you that Margaret Smith is engaged.
Yeah, well, that's what I figure I'll break up.
Ezekiel.
Oh, Reverend, look, I didn't set out to make any trouble.
Now listen to me. Tom and Margaret are practically man and wife in the sight of God. And if you have any other kind of thoughts for her, then you must contain yourself.
How do you do that, Reverend?
You discipline yourself. You pray. You fall on your knees and ask God for guidance.
Well, if I can't seem to fall on my knees?
Then leave town. I beg you, Ezekiel. This could lead to tragedy.
Not for me, it couldn't, Reverend. Not for me.
Oh, Jason, will you be at prayer service this evening?
No, I'm afraid not, sir.
I appreciate tremendously what you're doing for the choir. I only wish the spiritual teachings of the church could mean more to you personally.
I wish they could too, sir. How do you do, Frank?
How do you do, sir?
Hello, Mr. Jason.
Good morning, Elvis.
Music was real nice. I could hear it from here.
Thank you.
That's what I like about spring. People open their windows.
I think I'll have some of that.
No, that's Mr. Jason's. It's absinthe. I ordered it for him all the way from Paris.
Hey, Jason! Can I have some of your drink?
I wouldn't advise you to, Ezekiel. It might stupefy you.
That's exactly what I want. Just exactly what I want.
You better go now, Zeke. It's dinner time.
It's dinner time. I'll sit at the same table with her. And I'll just stare myself sick.
Pleasure.
I really don't want one anyway. Besides, there's plenty more left.
Gooseberry or raspberry?
Gooseberry. I adore gooseberry. They're both raspberry. That's all right. I didn't really want one anyway.
Did I hear you say you wanted gooseberry?
Well, thank you. How very thoughtful.
Margaret, if you've quite finished with your dinner, why don't we sit on the porch a while?
She hasn't quite finished. Why don't you sit on the porch a while?
Sir, would you like to step outside?
Now, Tom. Tom, please. Ezekiel. Tom, I have a chill. I wish you'd go to my room and fetch my shawl.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Tom, I asked you to fetch my shawl.
You fetch it. I have other things to do.
Are you trying to insult Miss Smith?
Don't be ridiculous.
All right. If you won't fetch a shawl, I will. May I?
Yes, please do.
I forbid you to go to her room. If you do, I'll whip you again.
You wouldn't do that, Tom. You'd be dead first.
Tom, I want to speak to you. What do you mean you forbid him to go to my room? Is it your room?
Now, Margaret, you know I didn't
It's my room, do you hear? And if Ezekiel's civil enough to go fetch my shawl, I'll thank you to be civil enough to mind your own affair.
But this is my affair.
What's your affair?
Margaret, we're going to be married.
Are we?
What do you mean, are we?
I mean just that. Are we?
Well, of course we are. I mean, aren't we? Good heavens, I have this fine position with Mr. Rockwood at the City Hall. I told you, dear, I have every prospect. Margaret, I know I can become mayor someday. Maybe even governor when we're a state.
That's fine, Tom. But I don't know if I want to be a governor's wife. How dare you go in my room?
Well, you... I mean, you...
Give it to me. And don't ever go in my room.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't go near my room.
Oh, ma'am.
And kindly shave.
What, ma'am?
Shave. I can't abide a man with whiskers.
Well, ma'am, I shave once a week. Should I do it oftener?
I don't care if you shave or pluck it out, but if you're going to continue tagging after me, try your best not to give the impression of being a babu.
Oh, sure, ma'am, sure. I mean, like if you agree to walk out with me this afternoon, I'll shave right now.
Ezekiel, I have a singing lesson this afternoon. If you'd care to, you can accompany me to Mr. Jason's residence.
Really?
You're lovely, Margaret. How deep your eyes are. Men will kill themselves for you. 21, you'll be singing in the Paris Opera. Princes will kill themselves for you. I'm very cross with you. Well, you needn't be. And even if you are, I don't care.
Margaret, I feel responsible for you.
Well, don't be. My father's well provided for my care, not for a guardian.
Why are you in such a terrible temper?
Because you're always so critical, and you always say no. Just because I don't have any parents, you don't have to be mean enough for both of them.
Why did you break with Tom?
I didn't break with him.
He says you did?
Well, he's wrong. All I did was half break with him.
Well, why did you half break with him?
Because I chose to. You think he's such a nice man. Well, every time he's near me, he stands close and whispers things. He tries to brush his hair against my hair. And one time when he
kissed the palm of my hand. He lingered longer than it was nice to linger.
Was that all?
Well, no. I must confess there is another reason. He bores me to distraction.
Margaret, I'm worried about you.
What do you want me to do, go through with it? Do you want me to share the marriage suite with a governor who bores me? Or maybe I should try a gambler.
Margaret, someday I'll tell you about my marriage. And all that I felt. And all the mistakes I made right up to the moment of his death. In the meantime, I wouldn't accept gossip if I were you.
Beth, I'm sorry. I'm such a dreadful girl. I don't know why I do such things. I'm so mean. It's just that sometimes I feel so wicked. I want to make everybody in the world grovel, especially men. Sometimes I want to grovel myself. I want to throw myself off a cliff so high I'll never land.
Margaret, if I seem cross with you, it's only because I don't want you to go through what I went through. Not for anything in this world. Now, wash your face and get ready for your lesson.
Good evening, Miss Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Mulligan.
Where to, ma'am?
Across the street to Mr. Jason's residence.
Oh, yes. I'll see if I can get you there safely. I believe this is Mr. Jason's residence.
Thank you. Such courtesy is warmly welcome.
Anytime you want to shoot it out, you let me know.
Sure. Anytime you let me know, we'll shoot it out.
Why not next Sunday morning?
That's fine.
Two swains are out there.
Yes.
You should be more careful, Margaret. Loveliness can sometimes mean torture, and there's a limit to torture.
I don't think I understand.
If a man is of a turbulent nature, and he has lived with loveliness that he cannot possess, and then he sees someone else possess that loveliness, who knows, he might even kill.
I don't think anything like that could happen, Mr. Jason.
Do you think Tom is a man of turbulent nature?
No, I'm sure he isn't.
Do you think Ezekiel to be such a man?
No. Ezekiel's very simple.
Then there shouldn't be anything to worry about, should there?
Mr. Jason. Mr. Jason.
Yes, Annie.
Mr. Jason has a lesson. She's waiting. Mr. Jason. Mr. Jason, you look like your face is dead. You better go along, Annie.
What shall I tell her?
Better tell her 2-3 hours. Now drink. Drink and dream. Or what else is there?
Gotta listen.
I told you to wake me. Didn't I tell you to wake me?
Wasn't very good, was it?
Wretched.
Do you mean wretched?
Do I look like a jokester?
Maybe I shouldn't take any more lessons if I displease you so.
That's a conclusion I came to some time ago.
How do you mean?
Sunday in church. I looked at your face as though it were the first time. And I thought of all the hours and the agony I'd gone through to bring your voice to where it is. And I came to the conclusion that it was a dismal waste of time for the both of us.
Most people thought I'd never sung better.
Most people are fools.
May I ask what my face had to do with it?
I suddenly saw that it was content.
Content?
More than content, it was delighted, self-delighted, and hence empty. In fact, I felt like slapping it.
But why? Mr. Jason, whatever's come over you?
Revulsion.
At me?
Margaret, I love beauty. Heaven knows in this dismal town that's hard to come by. But when you came, beauty came. And it gave me something to hope for again. You brought a promise that in your voice, I could finally fulfill myself. That in this
dusty, dirty, vulgar cow town. That you and I could create a radiance into eternity. I'm drunk. But I was wrong, you see. I was trying to fill my emptiness with your emptiness. And I shouldn't do that. That's wrong. I should just drink.
I didn't know I seemed so empty.
Beauty without suffering is always empty. And genuine suffering is given to very few people. It takes a kind of strength and a great heart.
And you don't think I have that?
I know you don't have it.
Then you don't want me to take any more lessons?
Oh, take all the lessons you want. I need the money. But I also need to be honest.
I never knew a man so cruel.
Oh, by the way, how soon is the wedding?
The very instant I can get a dress made.
Silence in the courtroom. Here's to Thomas Lindsay Wolcott, the finest young man in town, marrying the finest girl in the world. Congratulations, Tom.
And the full ripe curve of her lips. The way they tremble ever so slightly when she sings. The delicate taper of her fingers, the way they caress the keys of my piano. The beautiful turn of her figure. Ezekiel, you can have her. She likes you. She never admitted, but she likes you. Because you're dark, because you look rough, you look brutal. And she is all blonde and innocent.
But how can I get her? There's Tom.
You're a good shot, aren't you?
If I kill Tom, they'll hang me from a tree.
Who said kill? Tom is out there now. You just go up to him and you say, Tom, let's go for a walk. Let's patch things up. And then you get him to the end of town, and you pretend to shoot him. You tell him if he doesn't get out of town fast, you'll kill him.
Do I shoot?
Yes, but you shoot to miss. He's a coward. He'll run.
Oh, the sheriff warned me. He's keeping his eye on me. Ezekiel.
Listen to me. Can't you just see her? Standing there in her room, looking at herself in the mirror. And now she moves slowly. She stretches out her arms. She kneels beside the bed, says her prayers. Then she gets in. All as sweet and as unknowing as Eve herself that first young day in the garden.
I'm glad you had a change of heart, Zeke. That you decided to take things this way.
Tell the truth, I never figured you to be one to end a feud like this. Like friends. I'm glad I was wrong.
You were right the first time.
Now, Zeke, I'm not wearing a gun.
It's the only reason you're still alive. But even I won't help you none if you ain't making tracks down the road in about 5 seconds.
Now, you can't run me out of here like this.
Either that or they'll carry you out. Because if I see you next time, I'll kill you. Now get.
Miss Smith, are you with us?
I'm sorry.
You seem disturbed tonight.
I'm sorry, sir, but... Well, no one knows where Tom is. He's disappeared.
Do you care to go on, or don't you?
I'll try.
Faith of our fathers living still, in spite of dungeon fire and sword. Oh, how our hearts beat hot.
I can't go on.
Try it alone for a minute.
I can't.
Nonsense, you have to. Gentlemen, stretch your legs for 10 minutes. By the time you get back, I'm sure Miss Smith will have her solo.
Faith of our fathers living still, in spite of dungeon fire and sword. Oh, hearts beat high with joy.
What's up, Cecil? It's Tom Wolcott. Is he dead? Yeah. Where'd you find him? Right down in the dry gulch, all covered by leaves. I was walking along. I stumbled. I looked down. It's Tom, I said. Anybody seen Zeke Mulligan? How about you?
Whenever we hear that glorious word,
that delights you in the world outside? Or do you prefer being back again at Mrs. Purcell's boarding house?
No, sir. I'm most content here with you.
Content is a paltry word. I should think you might say delighted.
Why, I am, sir. I'm delighted.
Margaret, I wish you'd stop calling me sir. I'm not your music teacher any longer. I'm your husband. The name is Carl.
Yes, Carl.
Did I say to stop playing? Please to continue. Never mind. It's time for choir practice. And since you refuse to come to choir practice any longer, I suggest that while I'm away, you spend your time at the piano.
Oh, yes, sir. Indeed, I will.
With a little more proficiency, you might start giving piano lessons to children.
I'd like that.
And may I see that note?
What note?
The note Mrs. Purcell left on the windowsill. May I see it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
This. Precious. I have the most urgent and startling news for you. How can we meet? Do you often have little secrets with her?
No, I don't speak to her.
Why not? She lives right across the street.
I haven't spoken to her since the day we were married, and you ordered me not to.
Then why, on this soft summer evening, do you attempt your first deception?
I don't know, sir.
You won't attempt to deceive me again,
No,
will you?
sir.
You swear?
I swear.
Margaret, my dear one, without complete honesty between both parties, marriage loses its sanctity.
Did you read it?
I promise not to talk to you.
Well, don't. But you have to listen. Ezekiel's back in town. He came to see me last night after dark. Wants to see you tonight. He swears he did not kill Tom.
Well, if he didn't, who did?
That's what he's here to find out. And he wants you to help him. Will you? Will you see him tonight?
No, I can't.
I could take you to the edge of town. We could see him there. I can't. Well, then, let him come here. I saw Jace go to choir practice. You could leave the back door open.
The housekeeper's here isn't safe.
Well, let her go. Please, Margaret. He wants to see you so much.
All right. I'll leave a light in the window. When I put it out, then it's safe.
Margaret, on second thought, I'd like you to attend choir practice with me.
But I have such a terrible headache.
I'm sure it'll be good for you. It'll give you a stroll in the evening air and spare hours that might otherwise prove long and lonely. Get your shawl.
If I drink, I'll talk. Honey, you could pour that whole bottle down me and I won't talk.
Who says I want you to talk? I just want to ask you a few questions is all. I'll pay for the answers. $5.
You got the wrong girl.
I'll pay $10.
What kind of questions?
Oh, about a man who used to spend every Sunday afternoon with you. I'd like to ask you if you can remember different things he might have said to you.
I got my ethics.
How about 20?
There isn't a man ever came to me, drinking or drugged, or crying out in his sleep. He showed me his heart. It was his heart and his secret. And it was still his secret when he left.
I'm talking about Carl Jason.
I knew who you're talking about. And if I told on every mother's son, he'd be the last one. You should sit here on Sunday mornings like me. You should sit here on Sunday mornings after Saturday night and listen to his music coming down the street from the church. It's like God's own extra special, soft-hearted gift for those that can't quite make it up the big hill. You want me to tell on him?
One more thing. Will this make you forget you saw me?
Well, that won't do it, honey. But don't worry. Like I said, I got my ethics.
Thank you for bringing me home.
Are you quite sure you don't want me to come in with you?
No. I was enjoying choir practice so much, and then this terrible headache came over me. I'm sure it'll be all right in the morning.
Good night, my dear.
Good night.
Ezekiel! Ezekiel, is that you?
I have to tell it to you fast. I have to tell you even if you don't believe me. But Margaret, please believe me for your own sake. I swear I didn't kill Tom.
If you didn't kill Tom, who did?
I wasn't there, but inside me I know for sure. Jason killed him.
You're lying. You must be.
Margaret, please. I believe it. Beth believes it. Margaret, Tom was found in the gulch all covered with leaves. Well, I thought I shot him. But I was drunk. Jason got me drunk, and he told me to take Tom to the edge of town and scare him by shooting at him to miss. Well, I thought I hit him. And it wasn't until I got Beth's answer to my letter, saying that she was suspicious. She said that Tom was found all covered. Well, I know. I just ran because I thought I hit him. I thought I killed him. And I sure didn't stop to cover him. So now there's a chance, see? I could witness. All I need is a few more facts, and I go straight to the sheriff's office.
Oh, Miss Purcell.
I never would have taken the liberty of calling, but I heard that Margaret was very ill.
She's much too ill to receive callers.
Can't I please see her?
Doctor's orders.
Oh, I say, Jason, how's your wife? I hear she has the running fever, but I just talked to the doctor. He said you hadn't called him.
If she worsens, I'll call him.
Just exactly what is the nature of her illness?
There seems to be a continued residue of delirium.
These terrific headaches, you never know to where they may lead.
I don't say she doesn't have her lucid moments, but then again she is seized by hallucinations.
But Ezekiel was real, you know.
I beg of you, sir, let us not start that dispute again.
You say you saw Ezekiel?
Well, the other night I thought I saw Ezekiel. At least I saw this person go up to the back door and go in.
My dear Reverend, that could not be. I returned home immediately you called me, and there wasn't a soul in the house, except Margaret, and the doors were barred. Now, if you'll excuse me, I don't like leaving Margaret alone.
How did you call Dr. Hodges?
Yes, sir, I did. He'll come as soon as he can, but it may be some days. He had to go into the Indian Territory. They have cholera there.
Oh, do so wish I could talk with someone.
Not till you're well, dear. You seem to be having these wild hallucinations. You keep thinking that Ezekiel is back.
But he is. I saw him. I talked with him in this very house.
Oh, my dear. When I came home from choir practice, you were in a dead swoon in the hallway.
And what did you do?
Put you to bed. And believe me, my dear, there was no one in the house except you and me.
I don't believe you, Carl. I know he was here. You must have killed him, too.
Now, these are just morbid thoughts, but they'll soon pass. Now you must rest. You must believe me, darling, and trust me. I'll always be close to you, and tend you, and bring you back to health. And now sleep. Sleep.
Carl, when can I go downstairs?
Oh, in a month. Perhaps 2 months.
But I want to go out. I want to walk in the outdoors. I feel well.
No, dear. Not for some time. Not for quite some time.
Carl. Carl, don't lock me in. Carl!
Margaret. Margaret.
Help me, please.
I believe you sent Beth on an errand.
No, Carl, I didn't.
Were you sending for the sheriff by any chance?
I swear I haven't seen Beth since...
I'm waiting, Margaret.
Waiting to kill me.
Oh, I pray not. I don't know what I shall do, but I doubt I kill you, loving you as I do. Not that you don't deserve it.
Deserve it?
Yes. Don't you think so?
Why, Carl? Why? What have I done?
You're innocent. Isn't that enough? You're young and innocent and never loved a soul in the world except yourself. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough, Margaret? A girl should destroy a man, 2 men, 3 men, because I shall hang for this. But not until you've paid to you and your innocence. Your hounds are here. I shall slip out the back. It's such a nice night.
Jason. Open up.
Mr. Jason, it's the sheriff.
Open up, Jason.
You should always wear white.
Did you sit there all night? Daylight's coming. Don't you want to sleep some more? They shot Jason, didn't they? I don't know. He got away. But they found Ezekiel's body in the cellar.
You think I'm to blame for all this?
No, Margaret.
Because Tom and Ezekiel died?
No, dear.
Because he will?
No.
I do. I do, and I don't want to live anymore.
You will. You'll live, and you'll love again. Or at least you'll want to. We all want love. No matter what mistakes we make, or how torn we are, we all want love. And we should. That's life. That's the beauty and the sorrow of it.
Carl Jason died, but Cimarron City had his choir and Margaret. With all Jason's evil, there was a lot of good in him. And we in Cimarron City like to think that the good keeps singing on.
To tell the old story.